Welcome to all of you. My name is David Thompson from the Fraser Valley in British Columbia. I'm 66 years old, since now about 3 months, and have been interested in anti-aging medicine, preventive medicine, for many years. And so I've acquired, from reading and doing a certain amount of research from time to time, not a lot because I do many other things, a significant amount of knowledge and experience. And of course I've really applied it to my life. That's evident. I'm physically solid as a rock still. I do high-speed runs uphill 3 times a week and can lift exceptional weight for my age. And also, particularly in the stomach area, I'm very strong for some reason, and very slim. So here I am, I'm 66 years old, experiencing a very high quality of life because of things I have learned and applied in my life. But I want to share with you today about what I believe is the most exceptional discovery that you can have in your own life. It's a PEMF device known as the Earth Pulse Sleep on Command anti-aging machine. It's not anywhere near as expensive as most PEMF devices are. Now, some of you may not know what a PEMF device is. It stands for Pulsed Electromagnetic Field. These devices emit an electromagnetic field that has a very positive effect on one's health. And there's been an exceptional amount of research done by the Russians, the Europeans, and NASA on this. So there's all the data there that shows how powerful PEMF devices can be. But the Earth Pulse is exceptional for many reasons. Because it has all the best science put into it from all of that research by the Russians, by NASA, and so on. It was designed by 2 medical doctors. Dr. Robert Becker, known as the father of modern biomagnetic medicine. He invented this device, and Dr. Walter, let me see, make sure I have that right, Dr. William Pollack put all the different programs into this device that were based on the best research from NASA and other sources around the world. And I have found this to be the case because I have been using it since November of 2014, and now it's February of 2016. I think that's about 1 year and 3 months. And I would like to share with you first what I've experienced personally with the Earth Pulse device. I will mention just briefly at this point that what the Earth Pulse device and most PEMF devices, if they have the right frequencies, will do. Most of them don't have the right frequencies like the Earth Pulse. Most of them have frequencies that are too high and do have some very bad side effects as a result, though they may have some positive effects in other aspects of health. The PEMF devices, and in particular the Earth Pulse, focuses on the very root of aging, which is known by many scientists and doctors, and most of them are very convinced that the source of aging is in the cell, in particular related to the mitochondria, which are these little cylinders that are in our cells. They're shaped like cylinders, and if the cell is healthy, there's somewhere between 70 and 1,000 of these in each cell. And they are what creates the energy in the cell, and so the energy for our bodies. And of course, when there's more ATP, which is what is the technical term for the energy that's being produced, there is, as a result, the ability for the body to use that energy to heal itself far more effectively. Now, I know quite a bit about the mitochondria, and I can't share it all right at this point. I'll share more about it a little later. I just want to point out that when these waves emit, what happens is that the mitochondria it's like a mechanic going out to every single mitochondria inside your cell, these cylinders, and giving it a tune-up and cleaning all the junk out of the engine. The result is that the mitochondria don't degrade and they can continue to multiply. And so, as a result, you have far greater energy output. They know that the cause of almost every disease is when the mitochondria start to break down so that there's very few of them in the cell. When there's very few of them, the cell becomes cancerous. And again, I'm very tempted to go into the details of just a recent discovery that came out. But I'd rather talk about more of these details of this very recent discovery that I just read about a few days ago, related to the mitochondria, not related to the earth pulse in any way as far as in the article I came across from a very high authority source from Dr. Mercola, which has a website at mercola.com. But I'll go into that later. I just want to point out that when I received the earth pulse back in November of 2014, it was only about 3 days later that I noticed a significant change in how my breathing was. I noticed, because I sing in some gatherings with Christians, that I could sing with a very loud voice for a far longer period of time and with far greater ease. I also noticed this because I always drink 32 ounces of water in the morning when I get up, in one steady gulp down. And I found usually that I would breathe pretty heavy and it would be a bit difficult to do it. I found it was no longer difficult, and I was not breathing really heavy after because it was not requiring as much oxygen. This is because the cells were all receiving more energy. As a result, there was more availability and so of capacity in the lungs. Also, I do heavy weightlifting 3 times a week. And I'm really good at this one. I've never seen any of the strongest men there do it. I don't think they could, strangely, even though they're in their 20s. Where I am, I like to see them do it. I've never seen it. But I would put the plate right down to the bottom and I would do 42 reps. That's the most I could do. That was really hard for me to do back then. So on the 3rd day after using the earth pulse, suddenly I go up to 46 reps. And then 2 days later, I go up to 54 reps. And then there was probably the weekend, so it might have been another 4 days later, or 3 days later, I go up to 60 reps. From 60 reps, 42 reps to 60 reps is very significant. And it has stayed around 60 reps, sometimes a little bit less, sometimes a little bit more, for all of that time since I've been using the earth pulse. Now recently I changed my pattern with that machine and I'm putting on an extra 10 pounds. And recently I've been going down to about 55, 56 reps instead of 60, but that had to do with other factors. But now what I'm doing with that extra 10 pounds is 40 reps. But it's a lot more weight. So that's very significant just there. As far as overall, I experienced in bench presses and so on, being able to do about 2 reps more usually in dumbbells, pressing them and some other things. So I would say it's about a 10% increase in my weightlifting overall. And that is what is indeed the case, because they have a lot of research on the Earth Pulse machine. They've got at the site, if you go to my site at sleepmachine.info, there are links that go to all the research. And there's extensive research that these links all go to, very extensive, on the athletic results, on the tremendous anti-aging results of the Earth Pulse. And my experience after all this time also is, of course, with the tremendous improvement in sleep. And I noticed that almost immediately in using the Earth Pulse. In fact, it was very defined. It pulled me into a very deep sleep so that I had many dreams. I am a person that rarely dreams. And now I was having all kinds of dreams. Usually short episode dreams, but a whole bunch of them in a row. Of course, when you dream, that means you're in your deepest state of sleep. So this is pulling you into a far deeper state of sleep so that you sleep far better as well. So all the time you're sleeping, it's emanating these waves which are improving your overall health significantly and the ability of your body to heal itself. Now, of course, when you have multifaceted improvement in your health, you don't have to spend anywhere near as much in supplements, which can be very expensive when they add up every month. And I know that more than anyone because I'm very avid on being diligent to keep myself in good health so that the older I get, I don't start becoming senile and so on and so forth. No, you can keep up with a higher quality of life, especially with this machine, which is not expensive like most PEMF devices are. Most PEMF devices are around, they run into thousands and thousands of dollars. You can buy the Earth Pulse for as low as $499, plus, of course, shipping and possibly duty, depending on how and where you get it. And you're looking at something that is small and portable. These other ones usually are big. They don't have the right frequencies or the right waves in many cases. And I could go into more detail on all of that. I don't want to make this into a really long video. But the result of using the Earth Pulse in the area of sleep after all this time is very noticeable. Now, that doesn't mean that you won't have times when you might not be able to sleep, even though you have the Earth Pulse. I have always had a tendency before, and even using the Earth Pulse, to wake up, let's say if I'm going to get up at 7 in the morning, I'd probably wake up around 4 in the morning, and I might stay awake for, I don't know how long it is. It seems like it could be even a half hour. But with the Earth Pulse, it becomes shorter, and I'm pulled into a deep sleep again. Oh, there are times when I've taken something wrong or something that I shouldn't have taken, and I still find that I wake up and I can't sleep. But I'm pulled into sleep far more quickly and far more deeply. I have never experienced so many dreams in my life. I should write them down, but some of them are just crazy, but like everyone has. But talk about dreams, there would be enough to write a book thicker than the Bible on if you have that many dreams every day, and I've never had that before in my life. So that's a sign that this is really effective for people that have sleep problems as well. And so you can check that out on my site at sleepmachine.info. Now I could share with you a little bit more detail about this recent article I read from Dr. McCullough. I get his emails, and he sent me an email a few days back called "The New Protocol That Makes Most Cancer Vanish." He said in this article that the gentleman he interviewed, which has written a book on it and has done all the research on this, the book is called "Tripping Over the Truth, The Return of the Metabolic Theory of Cancer Illuminates a New and Hopeful Path to a Cure." Now, this is not just about curing cancer. This is about reversing all disease and the potential to reverse cancer significantly and possibly even cure it as well. So what's given in this article is all the testing and so on and the things they've discovered. And this fits in with the earth pulse because it has to do with the mitochondria that is the energy producer in all our cells. Now, the mitochondria, what they found is this. Many scientists still and doctors believe that it's the genetic mutations and all of these things, and they're trying to figure out what's going on with the genes. But now they've discovered something that's pretty solidly shown by scientific tests to be the case. That it is not the genes that are the issue. The genes are being damaged by the fact of what happens to the mitochondria. The mitochondria, when it's degraded through taking sugar, that's one of the most powerful things that causes cancer. Cancer feeds on sugar, and it really degrades the mitochondria. The other thing that can really degrade mitochondria, I believe you're going to find evidence for this as well, although I don't have the research to back this up, is the wireless activity of waves. High frequency waves from our cell phones, high frequency waves from computers and other things, and our cordless phones. Now, Dr. Mercola and other doctors have done tests, and one of the things that happens when you have the earth pulse, or you do grounding, which is something that is not as effective, of course, as the earth pulse. You can look up all about grounding. There's all kinds of clinical trials in that. But what it does is it improves the quality of your blood because it increases significantly the zeta charge in your blood, which causes all the cells of the blood to be properly spread apart so that they're not all clumped. And you can see many before and after pictures on the internet on grounding, where it shows the before when you're not grounded to the earth and when you are. And the quality of the blood significantly improves. In fact, if you buy a conductive cloth and you take a little metal clip to the grounding wire in your plug, just have one wire going into the ground, you will notice a significant improvement in your sleep even that way. Because clinical trials show that's the case. The cortisone, the stress hormone goes way down just from having contact with a cloth that is in the ground that goes through the wire and the telephone down into a rod way down into the earth. Because the earth is emitting a certain charge, and it's also a pulse of about 9.6 hertz. And this causes a zeta charge in the blood that spreads all the blood cells apart so they're not clumped together so that there can't be toxic buildup and so on. And so you are improving in that way. Also, people with diabetes, your blood insulin levels go way down to a way more healthier state when you are grounded. How much more so when you have the earth pulse, which is like grounding on steroids many times over. Or a PEMF machine that has the right frequency. Now, what's the right frequency? Well, there are significant tests that have been done by NASA. One in 2003 by Goodwin, it's called Goodwin NASA. And they basically found that when they used a 10 hertz square wave frequency, which is what the earth pulse has, many of these PEMF devices don't even have square waves, which are far more superior, which means that that pulse goes out, it doesn't come back, it goes out and stays out. And it's an on and off, an actual on and off, instead of just, the other way. So what happens is that they found that there was something very significant about 10 hertz. Now, 9.6 hertz is very close to 10 hertz, so basically it's the same thing. They found that 10 hertz was causing neural tissue regeneration 4 times greater than normal, with better 3D orientation. And what was interesting is that maturation cells, or maturation genes, were switched off. That's genes that advance a cell towards age. And there were 175 maturation genes that were switched off, and 150 developmental genes that were turned on, genes that make the cell become younger, were turned on, 150, and the ones that cause the cell to get older in that direction, 175 turned off. Only at 10 hertz. Now, every range from 1 hertz all the way up to 15 hertz is healthy. But when they test animals and other things, they found that after 15 hertz, there is stress hormones that increase and all kinds of negative things that happen. And there are many PMF devices that use these higher frequencies that are damaging to one's health. So it is very important that we know about that. Now, that is just a little bit of the research of the benefits of the 10 hertz. There are many other benefits. They found benefits to the optic nerve in the eye. Optic nerve regeneration was studied by the Russians with 10 hertz. They know that athletes have a significant increase in their strength of around 10%, and their stamina becomes increased by 20%. I can tell you my stamina is really increased with the better ability to breathe and so on. And there are many multifaceted benefits that way. Even with plants, when you put the earth pulse in your sprouts, let's say you're sprouting alpha, what they found, and this is all backed up by research that I have links to go to, the site where you have all of this, alpha sprouts and bean sprouts. Now I believe it was, if I remember right, it was the alpha sprouts, just get it right here, it was the alpha sprouts that increased by 42% in size and with better taste. The bean sprouts increased by 50% with better taste. So it's pretty obvious that this is very powerful, even if you have plants that are properly grounded, because some plants are grown in pots, there's a big difference, and you can watch videos on the internet that show that difference as they grow. So there's many reasons why the earth pulse is the most powerful anti-aging machine you can get, because it gives you the benefit of sleep. It has the proper programmed frequencies in it. All you really need is the 10 hertz. That one costs $499. You can get one that has programs in it that go to different levels and that cause you to be in a very high state of alert at 15 hertz. 15 hertz makes you very alert. So you can have it on during the day and it'll wipe out all these EMF pollution waves from wireless activity that causes your blood to be in bad shape, and it causes the blood to clump. But if you have that 10 hertz frequency on, it does the opposite. You're going to get a powerful zeta charge and a very high quality state in your blood. But this can go on all night with the benefit of many other things. And this, now I will just in the end, as I promised, tell you a little bit more about the mitochondria and this discovery against cancer, which confirms all the more that the earth pulse is the best thing you could possibly ever get. The best investment, far more so than a bunch of supplements that would cost way more on a monthly basis. That doesn't mean you get rid of all your supplements. There's certain ones like vitamin D and things that boost your immune system that are very important. And I mean, there are things that are very powerful to make the heart strong, CQ10, certain kind. The best CQ10 is at Life Extension, which has the combination of CQ10 with PQ and Silojet. That is super synergistic and causes the mitochondria to be also very, very healthy and strong, and is very good for the heart. But you're going to get the same result with the earth pulse. So you're going to have a very well improved heart health and circulatory system. Now, we know there's powerful things that they've discovered like TA65, and there isn't the science out to know whether it can actually stop the endings on the genes, the telomere, from shortening so that the cells do not age. But the evidence is that we know that the evidence is very clear scientifically that cells are brought to a far more youthful state. So it's obvious that when you use something like the earth pulse, that happens. But getting back to this, what they found out about cancer is this, is that because of taking sugar and because of wireless activity and other things, the mitochondria is degraded. When it's degraded, it sends a signal to the nucleus of the cell. as kind of like a distress signal. And then the nucleus of the cell sends out signals inside the cell for energy to be produced from other parts of the cell instead of the mitochondria. Now when this happens, it's very chaotic and there's a lot of lactic acid that is produced. And the lactic acid, the cell is able in its intelligence to cause little holes in the wall of the cell so that that lactic acid can escape. And of course, if that lactic acid couldn't escape, the cancer cell would die. Well, they found a drug recently in this article that I'm telling you about. By the way, Dr. Mercola said out of the 150 books that he read, the book on this one, Tripping Over the Truth that I mentioned, that talks about all of this with the mitochondria, he said that was the very best book out of the 150 he read, 150 books he read on health in 2015. So look up on Mercola.com the metabolic theory of cancer and the key to cancer prevention and recovery, because that's the title of that article. Now, I will tell you that when the nucleus of the cell and the mitochondria are sending distress signals to the nucleus of the cell, and the cell is sending out messages causing other parts of the cell to create energy, it ends up creating a tremendous amount of lactic acid, which is very damaging. It also ends up causing a lot of oxidative damage, radical oxidative damage. And so the cell, all of these signals going to the nucleus of the cell and so on, damages the genetics of the cell. So the scientists that thought they should look for the genetics as the solution, that there's something, what's wrong with the genes? It's not there. It's the mitochondria, when it's degraded and ends up in this state, that damages the genetics in the cell. And there was a very clear scientific test in this article done on that, where they took the nucleus of the cell in mice, the nucleus of a cell that was already damaged, and put it into a good cell, and they thought that then that cell would become cancerous, and it didn't. But when they took the opposite, they put, I should read it to you because I don't remember the exact details. But when they put the opposite in there, where I wish I had this, I thought I had it written here. Oh yes, here it is. At the time, all they could see, okay. The experiment was then flipped. When the nucleus of a normal cell was put into a cancer cell, which was then injected into mice, about 98% of the animals developed cancer. So it was when the nucleus of a normal cell was put into a cancer cell. That indicates that the cause of the cancer wasn't the nucleus of the cell, but it was the mitochondria. So you put a good nucleus into a cancer cell, and there was cancer, indicating that the cancer was coming not from the nucleus, but from the mitochondria. Now, of course, in this article, it points out that almost all diseases they know now are caused because of this mitochondrial dysfunction. So you want to be involved in the knowledge of what improves the mitochondria, to have power against these things. They know now that a wide array of other diseases, including neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's, also obesity, diabetes, heart failure, heart disease, arthritis, just to name a few, are well able to be treated if you focus on mitochondrial dysfunction and correct that. Now, I told you about the CQ10 at lifeextension.com and about the Earth Pulse, which would be the most powerful. But there's also this ketogenic diet that causes the cells, instead of burning sugar, which is very damaging and damages the mitochondria, to burn ketone. And so when you're on a ketogenic genetic diet, which is what they use for things like epilepsy and so on, they have found that it is not only effective against epilepsy, but many other conditions. So now I've told you 3 things you can find about that third thing in this article that I mentioned that are effective against all disease. And they're getting at the root cause, including a new drug that's coming out, which is in that article if you want to check it out. So I'm thankful that I could share with you something that will significantly improve your physical quality of life in a world that is becoming increasingly toxic, with wireless activity that is damaging our health, with the greed of industry and people that aren't interested in serving people but only lining their own pockets. And so they put sugar in all these foods, and they put this corn syrup and everything and give other names to it and everything so that they can evade having to do other things where they might lose money. So I'm thankful that I could share this with you. I want you to also be aware that I have a website, helpsheal.com, where I've done 5.5 hours of video in 10 sections on all the things, major discoveries that can cause a significant biological age reversal criteria of decades in your life. And, I could share so much more, but time is going. There are so many places where you can find this information on my site at helpsheal.com, or even helpshealth.com has also the same things. Thank you for listening to this video, and I would highly encourage you to purchase the Earth Pulse so that you can improve your sleep and your health. You will really notice the difference, as I did, and as the testimonies of many others are on there. And it's got a 90-day guarantee, your money back. The return rate is only 3%. And I should say they once had, back in 2002, a 15% return rate, and they wondered why. The reason was that the Earth Pulse, people that were taking thyroid medications for their thyroid, the Earth Pulse was healing their thyroid, and they were continuing to take the same dosages. And so it was keeping them awake. Now that they discovered that and informed these people that that was the case, now the return rate is 3%. So that's significant. The Earth Pulse has a very powerful positive effect against thyroid disease. I would suggest to take some natural thyroid builders in from the health store and focus upon taking an immune modulator to dampen the immune attack on your thyroid. As the top experts that specialized in thyroid disease know that that is the main factor that needs to be dealt with, is the dimming of the immune system attack on the thyroid. And you dim it by doing blood work if you want to be really accurate, and taking an immune modulator that balances the immune system is what will do it. I've just found some inexpensive ones at lifeextension.com that do it for me. Here it is. This is what emanates. It's a heavy metal thing that emanates the electrical pulses. And this is where you program it. It's right now doing 10 hertz frequency. Now, I'll just show you a little bit here so you can see the vibration of those waves, if I can get it to just go right here. Can you see? I hope you can see this. See that? So you can see what is happening there. Those waves are very evidently seen emanating there. So that's the Earth Pulse. Thank you for watching this video.